So, shall we start, Venu?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now I am going to share the presentation. I am going to share the screen. I request all the participants to wait for 1 or 2 minutes. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much. Now the topic we are going to discuss is how to write and publish a research paper. So friends, we know pretty well about the importance of publications, the academics. So what is the purpose of publishing a paper? Just may I know the purpose of publishing a paper from the participants? Any 1 or 2 purposes? Why we need to publish papers?
To update ourselves, sir.
Fine. What more? I am not going to test your knowledge. My intention is not to test you, but to keep you active in the discussion. So the purpose of research is, as rightly said by one of the participants, to update ourselves.
Sharing
And
of knowledge. Sharing of knowledge, sir.
sharing of the knowledge.
Fill the
Any
gap.
more?
Sir.
What, ma'am?
Fill the gap.
Existing
of
gap.
research.
So to fill the gap.
Yeah.
What else?
To add the knowledge to the existing literature, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. To add the knowledge to existing literature. What is the straight objective of publication by us, our community, teacher community? Straight point. These are all purposeful only. Whatever you said are relevant. But in general, what is the direct objective of the publications by a faculty?
To grow into a career.
Yeah, absolutely. The bull's eye is to elevate ourselves in the career planning, the career ladder. So imagine once we are joining at the level of assistant professor or the lecturer, then after completing certain period of time as per the regulating agencies norms, let us take UGC or AICTE, after a stipulated period of time, if we are fulfilling the eligibility criteria only, we will be promoted to the next level, like associate professor or the reader. So in that process, in that procedural aspect, one of the important determinant for our promotions is the publications. So there are certain points are to be scored by the teacher, which are called as API score, Academic Performance Indicator score, where each publication counts. Let us take, for example, there are 10 marks are awarded for a UGC care listed journal or peer reviewed journal publication. So there is a defined way of calculation of credit to the authors if more than one author is included in the publication, like co-authors. If there are 2 authors, what is the methodology of calculating the research score? If there are more than 2 authors, what is the way of calculating the score? It is mentioned. So, friends, now the purpose of publishing paper is, whether you accept or not, directly or indirectly, it is first instance, the primary motive is our own career development, whether you agree or not. This is my perception. Of course, there may be difference of opinion. But most of the teachers nowadays are publishing the paper. Not 100%, but majority of the teachers are publishing papers to fulfill the requirements of the career advancement scheme. Nothing wrong, because we need to fulfill the eligibility criteria. But anyhow, we are putting our efforts to publish the paper. If we made sincere efforts, if we spend some more time, we can come up with a more meaningful and purposeful research paper. So the purpose of this present session is to share my experience and views about some steps, some initiatives, some methods which are to be followed, which are to be kept in mind while moving further to publish a paper. So, am I audible? My voice is clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
it's very clear.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. So, friends, before starting the work or the writing or publishing a paper, one need to question themselves. Then only we have to start the research work. So the questions are, you can find on the screen, that is the paper worth writing? What do I have to say? What type of paper? Who are the right audience? Which journal I am going to publish? Are there any co-authors? And what is their contribution in the research? And what are the ethics to be followed while conducting the research and also publishing the paper? And after publication also, we need to follow up for getting the citations. So where the publicity matters, more number of readers you need, more number of audience you need to cite your paper, so that your citation score will be increased. So first, before starting the research work, one need to self-examine. One need to put themselves these questions. So about the paper, about the intention, about the type of paper, the target audience, the type of journal, the partners in the research work, ethics to be followed, and the publicity steps after publishing the paper. These are the things which we need to answer before publishing the paper, before writing the paper. So then the next is choose an article. The first step is choose an article type. What type of paper you would like to write? So there is a classification, and this classification is not a fixed one. Depending on the type of the paper or the content covered or the methodology followed to come up with the research paper, they are broadly classified into 3 types. One of the important type of articles is the full original research papers, and another one is review papers. The third one is letters, rapid or short communications. So in full original research papers, usually the purpose is to come up with the original research outcome, disseminate complete research findings. And on average, this type of paper used to be 8 to 10 pages long, and it may contain around 5 to 6 figures. And typically, an original research paper contains 25 to 30 references. So these full original research papers are an important part of the process when developing your career. So at initial level, the pure research activity, the hardcore research activity undertaken by the researchers who collects the data from the field or from primary sources, by approaching different data sources and processing the data, editing the data, coding the data, tabulating the data, preparing the data set ready for the analysis, and also the hypothesis testing, etc. All these typical kind of papers are classified into the type of original research papers. These papers will have 8 to 10 pages and several figures or tables may be there. So this is at the entry stage. Usually the teachers or the researchers used to undertake this kind of research papers. And the second category of papers are review papers. So review papers they are present a critical synthesis of a specific research topic. These papers are usually much longer than original papers and will contain numerous references. More often than not, they will be commissioned by journal editors. Reviews present an excellent way to solidify your research career. So here, after getting the experience, the senior teachers or professors or experts who used to prepare the diversified background and they used to review the areas of research, and they used to be lengthy when compared to the full original research papers. And usually on the request of the editors, these kind of research review papers used to appear in the journals. So after getting some experience and exposure in the research domain only, the review papers can be prepared. So this will strengthen the research career of the researcher. Review papers will make the researcher strong enough to consolidate the findings of the study and also to accumulate the knowledge and to summarize the knowledge set in a meaningful manner. And the third category of research articles we can find are letters, rapid or short communications. So these are often published for the quick and early communication of significant and original advances. They are much shorter than full articles and usually limited in length by the journal. Journals specifically dedicated to short communications or letters are also published in some fields. In these, authors can present short preliminary findings before developing a full-length paper. So this is a kind of paper where the area of research is new. Let us take the case in life sciences or medical sciences during the COVID period. Most of the times, because of the prescribed treatment protocol was not available, so doctors and senior experts have come up with short communications on the basis of trial and error. So this is a kind of interim report of the research. So before developing a full-length paper, the part of the research activity can be shared by the way of communications or short communications. Then it will fall under the third category of articles. So based on our interest, our status, our expertise, our time, our resources, one can decide which type of article is better to write. So you can choose full original research papers or review papers or letters or short communications to go for publication. So after deciding the article type, whether original research paper or review paper or the short communications, then you need to go for an appropriate platform for publishing the paper. So where we need to have the journals. So choose a journal. So how do you choose the journal? Can anybody share views? What is the method? How do you select a suitable journal? I request the participants to participate in the discussion actively. You might have published several papers. Then what is the basis? How do you select those particular journal at the time of publishing your paper?
Sir, I think it depends on
IS
the impact factor.
Yeah,
The more the impact.
ISBN number, ISBN number, publisher,
yeah. Yeah, yes, all those points are relevant.
Yes.
and it is international level viewed or like Harvard Business Review and all,
Yeah,
or national level publication, or we can choose on based on those criteria.
yeah. What
Yes, sir,
more?
in that also, most preference will be given to the impact factor as per my knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So usually there are several metrics which are scientifically measured by the agencies like Thomson Reuters or H-Index and Google Scholar or ORCID. There are several agencies of international repute which are categorizing the journals on the basis of their impact factor and their contribution in the domain of that field. So, of course, we know the journals are also of several types depending on the research field. So, there may be journals in the area of sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, commerce, management, accounting, philosophy, education, sports, medication, distribution, technology. Like different fields are there. In different fields, there will be journals of highest reputation in terms of their uh, quality standards. Let us take the Harvard Business Review, which is considered to be one of the best place to publish the articles or the reviews. They follow certain protocols and also the scientific methods to come up with summarizing the results defines their standard and metrics. So, are you looking for the right place to publish your paper? Submit to journals that you already read, that you have a good feel for. If you do so, you will have a better appreciation of both its culture and the requirements of the editors and reviewers. The other factors to consider while choosing a journal are the specific subject area, the aims and scope of the journal, the type of manuscript you have written. So, friends, most of the participants of our group may belongs to the commerce and business management. So, when we are trying to publish a paper, usually we look for the commerce or management domain-based journals. Let us take the case International Journal of Management, Indian Journal of Management, Indian Journal of Commerce. Like there are thousands of journals are there in different subjects. How frequently they are issued, whether it is a monthly journal or bi-monthly journal or quarterly journal or half-yearly journal or yearly annual journal. So what type of issues, how many number of issues they are publishing, and what is the methodology followed by them before publishing the paper, whether it is peer reviewed or not, whether the reviewers are giving the remarks or not, whether the paper editors are considering these papers seriously or as and when they receive they publishing the paper, what are the standardized protocols they are following, and who are the audience of that paper, whether that journal is a reputed one or not. And finally, we have to see that whether our manuscript fits their domain or not. For example, if we are going to prepare a paper on the advertising effectiveness, if you are planning to publish this journal in Indian Journal of Chemistry or International Journal of Chemistry, let us take. So it's not so meaningful because the Journal of Chemistry publishes the research works of the chemistry discipline or chemistry domain, where our research work is related to advertisement. So we need to look for the journals which publishes the research work related to commerce or business studies or more particularly promotion or advertise management or distribution management or sales management So we need to consider several points: the suitability of the journal, the matching between the content written by us and the publisher's area of research should be matched. So we need to be very careful while choosing a journal. And these points also we need to keep in mind the significance of our work, the reputation of the journal, the reputation of the editors within the community, the editorial review and production speeds of the journal, the community served by the journal, the coverage and distribution, accessibility. So whether it is openly accessible or subscription based one. So if it is a subscription based one, the citations opportunity will be less because the reader need to make payment to read the paper. So if more number of readers are not going to read, the opportunity of getting citations will be less. So we need to keep in mind several parameters and several points before choosing a journal. So choosing a journal for your research work can seem daunting, but it doesn't need to be. By asking some simple questions, you can quickly narrow your focus. So yourself, you can judge whether the journal fits your requirement or not. So it may look like a hard work, a typical one, but if you look into the details in simple way, it can be done. So then after deciding the type of article and when you have chosen a particular journal, your research activity or writing part will be commenced. So construct your paper. Each element of a paper has its purpose. So you should make these sections easy to index and search. Don't forget that requirements can differ highly per publication. So always make sure to apply a journal's specific instructions or guide for authors to your manuscript, even to the first draft, the text layout, paper citation, nomenclature, figures, tables, etc. It will save you time and the editors. Also, even in these days, internet-based publishing space is still at a premium. So be as concise as possible. As a good journalist would say, never use 3 words when one will do. So substitutions, the word which fits in single word, try to use that single word only. Don't use the jargons. So as we know, different publishers follow different protocols. Like in case of the tables or figures, some journals instruct the researchers to place the table wherever they require, but some journals will instruct the contributors to place the tables at the end of the paper as appendix. Similarly, figures, some journals may ask at the relevant place, some may ask in the end of the paper. So where they need to be placed, how they need to be titled, and the reference norms to be followed in the bibliography. So whether to follow APA or MLA or Chicago model. So which type of referencing need to be followed? That may be different for different journals. Some journals may follow APA. Some journals may follow MLA. Some journals may follow the Chicago model. So you have to look into the details of the journal. There, a separate item will be there, call for papers or the instructions to the authors, where you can get the details, which font is to be used, how much spacing is to be maintained, how many pages the paper should be restricted. So all these preliminary information you can get in the call for authors, call for papers area, where one need to confirm that we are adhering to the instructions given by the publishers. And also we need to consider the availability of space. Sometimes the publisher may charge more amount if it is a paid journal. If the page limit exceeds, they may charge extra amount. So we need to keep in mind about the length of the paper also. So a typical type of structure of the full paper is discussed in the following slide. So where you need to, so one need to be very careful about writing the paper. So this should be based on the chosen journal and also the area of subject and the type of paper we are writing. So everything from the style and structure you choose to the audience, you should have in mind while writing will differ. So it's important to think about these things before you get stuck. So friends, before starting the journey itself, we need to be clear about these aspects. So the first important point when we are moving forward to write a paper is, it is none other than the title. So may I know the importance of title in research paper? Can anybody express your views?
Yes, sir. If the title
Yeah,
is
please.
perfect, 50% of the article is over.
Yeah,
The title is will focus the journal, the article, and it should be
yes,
catchy, and the reader should immediately get stuck to the, I think, to read the article and all that. Even the journals and magazine people also look at the catchy and good titles. Title plays an important role. I think 40% of the article is over once your title is properly fixed.
yes, yes, sir. Next, any others?
Shows the contemporary nature.
Yeah, title should showcase the contemporary nature. Next.
It should be simple and as minimal as possible. Title has to be very minimal in length
Yeah,
and
in
should
length.
do like as we say, face is the index of point. Then it should also reflect the entire context in small sentence.
Yeah. So the reader or the audience should be able to understand by going through the paper in detail what he or she is going to learn by going through that paper should be reflected in the
Yeah,
title.
and it should create curiosity, enthusiasm to read the entire article.
Yes.
It should be
So,
catchy.
so they should feel interesting. So what is there inside the paper? So after looking at the title, they should go through the abstract. Then abstract also speaks a lot. Based on the quality of abstract only, the readers will go through the full paper. Friends, in fact, only 10 to 15% of the readers will go through the full paper. Around 50 to 60% of the readers will read the abstract. 90% of the people will look at the title, and after 90% only 50-60% will move further to read the abstract. That means 30 or 40% people will drop at the title itself. So
Yes,
one
sir.
can
Title is
understand.
just a background to the article.
That's what we do in day-to-day newspapers also. We go through titles and then we'll choose few context and all.
Yeah, which item
Yes.
is to be read in detail and which is to be ignored.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
absolutely. So keeping in mind the importance of the title, one has to be very careful while using the paper title. And it is nothing wrong in discussing with colleagues, peers, or supervisor, or sometimes the knowledgeable people. Some libraries, some institutions may have good librarians. So as much as possible, the intellectual discussions will help the researcher to confirm an appropriate title which attracts the large number of audience to our paper. So one has to understand the significance of the title, then it will be more than 50% done. So if the question is framed properly, the solution is half done. There is a saying. Similarly, if the title is appropriate and suitable, definitely the chances of getting the citations and the readers will be increased. So one has to be very careful. And what is our intention of putting the title? What content is going to be covered should be understandable by looking at the title itself. So it's important to use the title to tell the reader what your paper is all about. You want to attract their attention a bit like a newspaper headlines does. So as told by our friend, one of the participants, in the newspaper, we will not read the entire newspaper. First, we will read the highlights, the headings. Whichever heading is interesting, we will go through that content, then we will skip on to the next page. Similarly, the title of the research paper is also like a heading. So one need to be very careful and attentive. So be specific and to the point, keep it informative and concise, and avoid jargon and abbreviations. So there may be different understandings if you use the abbreviations like SBI. In general parlance, SBI for Indians, it may be State Bank of India. But if the reader is from other country, let us take from Europe or America or Africa, there is no compulsion that the SBI may stands for the State Bank of India in their understanding. They may understand Standards Board of International or Standards Board Institute or something. Then it will be very difficult. So we are not supposed to use the abbreviations. So we have to use the full form of the institute or the organization or the task which we are studying in our study. So after the title, then the next important point is abstract. So what is an abstract? So friends, please keep in mind, I am not testing your knowledge. Everybody knows these points. These are very simple to understand, but practicing these things is little bit difficult. But it is my intention is to know from you what is your perception and where you are standing in the process of the research paper preparation. So what is abstract?
It is a brief narration of entire article. And what are the insights into the article? What are going to what is the background? What is the current scenario? What are going to learn from the entire article? Will be in abstract.
Yeah. So it is a kind of summary.
Not something.
Yeah. It is the gist of the paper.
Just
or the-
gist of the paper.
Yeah. It is
Overall theme of the paper.
yeah, the entire reflection in a nutshell. So what is the concept? What is the background? What methodology is used? What are the findings? Just it is like an encapsulation of the lengthy research work. So which indicates the whole and soul of the research activity. It is the concised form of the research findings in an appropriate manner, in an attractive manner, which encompasses the methodology used and also the findings, the matter for the discussion, which is placed in a short format, maybe one or two paragraphs. So here it is just like advertisement. As I told you, 90% of the people will look at the title, then 50% or 60% of the people will look at the abstract. If it is attractive, then only full paper will be read. Otherwise, most of the people will stop reading the paper, just they will go through the abstract only. So to read, to get the attention of the readers, the abstract should be so attractive, so meaningful, so concise, and to the extent possible, it is just like an advertisement of the article. So make it interesting and easily understandable without having to read the whole article. So the whole article should be reflected in this abstract. So here an abstract is a short summary of a longer work such as a thesis or dissertation or research paper. The abstract concisely reports the aims and outcomes of the research so that readers know exactly what your paper is about. Although the structure may vary slightly depending on your discipline, the abstract should describe the purpose of your work, the methods you have used, and the conclusions you have drawn. So one common ways to structure the abstract is in the form of IMR-AD, that is the introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So this structure is very popular. The paper alignment or the paper pattern is prepared most popularly in this model. So you look at any paper, whether it is of sciences or social sciences or arts or any discipline, most commonly the first part will be introduction, then the methods will be there, methodology used and the material used, and the results found, and the discussion based on the results. What is the discussion point? What are the things to be concluded? Whether this study is in line with the previous studies or it is against the previous studies, whether we are going to approve the existing results or disprove the existing pattern. So these things can be placed in the discussion paragraph. So abstracts are usually around 100 to 300 words, but there is often a strict word limit. So make sure to check the relevant requirements. Some journals may ask for the abstract of 100 words only. So confine your abstract to 100 words. Some journals may ask an abstract of 250 words. Then try to prepare your abstract to that extent. So as I told you already, before sending the paper for publication, you go through the author's guidelines or call for papers. There you can get the full details. So in a dissertation or thesis, include the abstract on a separate page after the title page and acknowledgements, but before the table of contents. So in our thesis also, usually we will prepare this abstract in a page or two. In most of the universities, the research abstract, thesis abstract will be sent for the examiners to get the acceptance for adjudication. So thesis will be around 200 pages or 300 pages based on the nature of work. The abstract of 15 pages or 20 pages will also be prepared. Before sending the thesis, the abstract will be sent to the adjudicator or the examiner. After looking at the abstract, the examiner may give consent or sometimes he may refuse to adjudicate the thesis. So here also in research papers, the abstract of one paragraph or 100 words will speak the overall content of the research paper. So while preparing the abstract, one need to be careful and one need to make sure that certain things are confirmed. So read lots of journals, articles, abstracts while conducting your literature review. Try using them as a framework for your structure and style. So unless you go through variety of literature reviews or different abstracts in your chosen area of domain, it is difficult to prepare an attractive and suitable abstract. So we should go through the abstracts, how they were prepared, what are the methodologies used, how they have placed. So these things must be followed while the section of literature review. You can also find lots of dissertation abstracts examples in thesis and dissertation databases. So they will contain the different elements depending on the paper. So sometimes the papers may be different based on the requirements, based on the objectives, based on the resources available to the researcher. So one need not worry about maintaining the homogeneity or similar kind of pattern, but overall the abstract should reflect the content of the full research activity. So for each chapter or section, there used to be a keywords, and those keywords will attract the reader's interest. What are the topics, what are the concepts covered in the research paper will be indicated by the keywords. And these abstracts should be prepared very clearly and concisely. A good abstract is short but impactful. So make sure every word counts. Each sentence should clearly communicate one main point. To keep your abstract or summary short and clear, you have to follow these principles. Avoid passive sentences. So usually we know passive sentences will be lengthy. So unnecessarily it occupies more space. So to avoid that lengthy jargon, it is better to use the active sentences instead of passive sentences, and avoid long sentences. So substitute the longer expressions for concise expressions or single words. Avoid obscure jargon. So the abstract should be understandable to readers who are not familiar with your topic. So simple words or simple sentences which attracts the readers to a greater extent. So whatever the skills you possess to using the words, you need not apply in preparing your abstract. If it is so, the readers may not read the paper. You may not get the readers. So avoid repetition and filler words. So don't repeat the same words again and again so that it may irritate the readers. So try to avoid the repetition of the words. Avoid detailed descriptions. In the abstract, it should not be descriptive one. There should be a short note kind of thing, and it should be very concise. Then only it attracts the reader's interest. If you are struggling to edit down to the required length, you can get help from experts, editors, or nowadays there are so many online tools are there which helps the cutting down the size of the abstract. And finally, check the formatting. If you are writing a thesis or dissertation or submitting to a journal, there are often specific formatting requirements. As I told you in the beginning, make sure to check the guidelines and format your work. For APA research papers, you can follow the APA abstract format. So when we are asked to follow those regulations or the bibliographic models, we have to follow that specified only. So the word count is within the limit, and the length is also within the limit. The abstract should be after the title page and acknowledgements before the table of contents. And one has to make sure that the research problem and objectives are stated clearly. The methodology is clearly stated. The important results are summarized. The conclusions were stated, and the important limitations and recommendations were also included in the abstract. The abstract can be understood by someone without prior knowledge of the topic. Even the people, the new readers, the readers who are no way familiar to the topic should also be able to understand by looking at the abstract about what the paper is. So how the paper is built, what are the conclusions drawn, what are the methodology followed, so what problem they have found, and whether the objectives were met or not. These points should be easily understandable by the person who is not familiar to that topic. And keywords. So usually after the abstract, the next there used to be a couple of keywords, maybe 5-6 keywords we need to place. Sometimes it may be up to 10 words also. The keywords are used by abstracting and indexing services such as PubMed or Web of Science. They are the labels of your manuscript, which make it searchable online by other researchers. So nowadays, because of the expansion and the increased rate of use of internet, we are using the search engines for everything. Whatever we need, we are approaching the Google where we are searching. For example, if I need to find a paper on work-life balance, so I am typing the research papers on work-life balance. Simply the Google is going to sort and provide you the links. What are the papers available at different URLs? What are the websites providing the related research works? So these keywords Usually, they may be in number 4 to 8 that are closely related to our topic, but not too niche for anyone to find them. Make sure to only use established abbreviations. Think about what scientific terms and its variations your potential readers are likely to use and search for. You can also do a test run of your selected keywords in one of the common academic search engines. Do similar articles to your own appear? Yes, then that's a good sign. So once you check the suitability of the keywords by typing them in the search engines, whether the similar kind of research papers are appeared on them or not. That is a testing tool to know whether the keywords are appropriate or not. So introduction. The introduction is the first part of the main text where the concept is introduced and the existing studies, up to what extent the concepts were built, and what are the limitations in the existing literature, and what is the purpose of doing this work is the part covered in the introduction. Then the methods. Every research article should include a detailed methods section, also referred to as materials and methods, which provide the reader with enough information to be able to judge whether the study is valid and reproducible. Include detailed information so that a knowledgeable reader can reproduce the experiment. However, use references and supplementary materials to indicate previously published procedures. So, till now, which literature you have referred and what are the shortcomings in that literature, how your study is going to advance the knowledge base. These points should be kept in mind while preparing the methods. So in our management or commerce business studies research papers, usually the methodology of research consists of the area of the study, the period of study, and also the data sources, whether the research is undertaken based on the primary data or secondary data. If it is primary data, what are the sources of the data, the sample, the size of the sample, and the methodology of sampling followed, whether it is random sampling or non-random sampling. In random sampling, which specific random sampling is used, simple random sampling or stratified random sampling or other method. So if it is a non-random, whether it is judgment or quota or convenience, which method we have followed. So whether the data collected through the observations or questionnaires or interviews or the person-to-person interviews or telephonic interviews. So what is the method you have followed to capture the data, and what are the tools used to analyze the data? What are the tests conducted to validate the data? What are the tests conducted to infer the information, to summarize the findings? So all these parts will be mentioned in under the heading of methodology or methods. So the last one is results. So based on the data used and processed, tested, what are the results? What you found by following through the results? So you may be testing the hypothesis, whether the advertisement is effective or not. That means before advertisement, what are the sales? After advertisement, what are the sales? Whether there is any significant increase in the sales or not. If there is no increase, the effectiveness of the advertisement is said to be the insignificant. That means there is no use of spending lots of money on the advertisement. So that inferences can be drawn from the data which is used and processed by using the appropriate test, whether it is of t-test or z-test or any analysis of variance, f-test, or several other innovative methods have come. Nowadays, we are equipped with the softwares like SPSS, AMOS, or R software. There are n number of alternatives are there to the researchers to process the collected data, based on which the results are summarized. So these results should be mentioned in appropriate manner. So So there must be and no mistakes should be committed by the researcher. Next, to summarize the main research results. This part of abstract can be in the present or past in the simple tense. So friends, now we have only 7 minutes left because the next speaker is ready from 3:30 onwards. So without wasting time, without discussing in detail, this results part we have to take care about the grammatical mistakes like tenses and the sentence formation should be taken care. The discussion part we need to mention what is the purpose of the study, to what extent it has fulfilled, what are the limitations we have faced while conducting the study, and also we have to make sure that the just a minute. So the conclusion should be drawn based on the results of the study, and it should take the paper to one step further and answer any unresolved questions. Sum up what you have shown in your study and indicate the possible applications and extensions. The main question of your conclusion should answer is, what do my results mean for the research field and my community? So by drawing the conclusions, we have to justify whether our study is conforming to the standards or not, whether there is any addition to the existing knowledge or not. We have to make ourselves conform. And these part up to whatsoever we have discussed is up to preparation of the paper. There are several ethical parts are also there. What are the principles and values we have to follow while publishing a paper? So like avoiding the plagiarism. So don't put your credit without your work. So don't claim the others' work as yours work. So give proper references, cite the work of others if you are referring to, and also if there are any co-authors are involved, give appropriate credit to them. Try to avoid the republication. That means same publication in different journals, the references standards, and also the acknowledgements. You may be receiving the financial assistance from different agencies. Acknowledge the financial assistance or the help taken from others. So you must follow certain ethics and values in the research and also at the time of publications also. And now we are facing the problem of predatory journals and also the cloned journals. So one must be very careful while choosing the papers. So you have to make sure that your paper is correctly prepared and you are publishing the paper in an appropriate journal, and try to follow the stringent norms of the UGC. For example, UGC is publishing the list of journals which are included in the UGC care list. So make sure that the journal which you are publishing is in the care list. And also if it is Scopus indexed, make sure that it is in the Scopus, because Scopus list will be updated periodically. So sometimes it may be in the Scopus, afterwards it may be deleted. Unknowingly, if you are publishing the paper may not be counted in the Scopus indexed journal. So try to be alert and try to recheck whether you are publishing the paper at appropriate journal or not. Think about the copyrights and whether the paper is going to be open access or subscription based. You make use the social media to spread your paper. You put your paper, your research work in the social media platform, so others will go through the work and cite your work. So nowadays we are living in the internet era. Most of the things are taken care by the search engines. So use the keywords, appropriate keywords, then your paper will be listed in the top. So be careful in mentioning the keywords, in preparing the abstract, in titling the paper. So these are the common precautions which are to be followed while writing and preparing the paper. And nowadays, social media is at free of cost to a greater extent. So use Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube to highlight your research work and to show that you are a perfect academician and researcher. And try to join in the research sharing network like ResearchGate or the SSRN network, Social Science Research Network, Mendeley, Academia, LOP. These are the networks which are created to combine or club the researchers to share their knowledge and research work. And Google Scholar is also very prominent in placing the research work, create the profile and present your paper at the conference, share the research work with others, and be careful while referring your work. So because of the paucity of time, now it is almost 3:29. I was forced to complete the slides little bit faster. So now the session is open for your questions. If you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, on the slide, my contact details are there, my mobile number and email. You can send a message or mail I will reply to your query. So this is something about writing and publishing a paper. So friends, I hope I have done my part to the extent possible. Once again, I would like to thank Sri Govinda Reddy Garu, the chairman of KGR ITM, and my guru, Professor Ramna Rao sir, the director of KGR Institute of Technology and Management, and my friends, Principal Vijayalakshmi ma'am and Venu, Rangeshwar Reddy, and other faculty friends from KGR Institute of Technology and Management. Thank you very much. And now
Thank you,
session
sir.
is open.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Venu.
Thank you, Ravi, for
sir, thank
accepting our invitation. I think it is my bounden duty to extend my thanks to you for the change of timings also. You have accepted my request, and my other colleagues will propose vote of thanks. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the given opportunity.
So it is our sincere thanks to our eminent resource person, Professor Akula Ravi sir, of today's session on the how to write a research paper, for being with us today and enlightening us. And it will be very much useful to the all faculty fraternity how to write a research paper. Those who are having any doubts in the research paper and how to choose a title and how to write it and how to write abstract, everything you are given elaborately for us, sir. We are very much thankful to you, sir, for giving today's information on how to write a research paper, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us that information.
Thank you. Have a nice day. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ravi sir.
I'm leaving.
Madam,
Sir.
Madam, ready unnara?
Sir, madam ga ready uన్నారు sir.
Start చేయండి మరి.
Madam వచ్చారు.
వెల్కమ్ చేయండి.
Yes, sir.
రంగేశ్వర్ ఎవరు ఇనిషియేట్ చేస్తారు?
సార్ చేస్తున్నాను సార్. సార్ గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ మ్యామ్.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah,
Am
good
I
afternoon.
audible?
Yeah, ma'am. Good afternoon, participants. మీరు అన్నీ ఎందుకు చేశారు సార్? Good afternoon, esteemed dignitaries, dear participants. I am Professor S. Vijayalakshmi, Principal, KGR Institute of Technology and Management, Rampalli, Hyderabad. On behalf of the institution and my personal behalf, I welcome our today's resource person, Dr. Madhumati Pasupati, Associate Professor of Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Sri Perambur, Tamil Nadu. And the topic of today's session is outcome-based teaching and learning methods. And now my colleague Sunita will give a brief introduction of our today's resource person.
Thank
Sunita,
you.
continue.
Thank you, madam. Dr. Madhumati Pasupati has completed her PhD in 2013. She has 10 years of teaching experience. Previously, she worked as an assistant professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at NIT Warangal. Presently, she is working as an associate professor and head in the Department of English at Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Sri Perambur, Tamil Nadu. She is also serving as controller of examination. She has received 3 research projects under the project grant of Impress scheme of ICSSR in 2019, an empirical research project in 2023, and MHRD funded project. She has contributed and owns a copyright for 2 psychological tools related to ELT indexed by American Psychological Association in APA Psychology Test Database. She has published more than 35 research articles in national and international journals. She is a creative writer as well and has published a short story collection. Madam, please welcome to the session.
Thank you very much for welcoming, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I start sharing my PowerPoint?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. Now you have the co-host.
Okay, so today's topic for discussion is outcome-based teaching and learning. It's an interesting topic that it came to my purview. I took it instantly because I've been working in this area for quite long time, especially in curriculum development, designing. I've been guiding scholars in this area. So before going in detail about teaching and learning, I would like to start with an introduction on outcome-based education. In what perspective that UGC has given a guideline to come up with an outcome-based education, and then I'll move on to outcome-based teaching and learning with the examples also. So outcome-based education is a student-centered learning philosophy that focuses on setting clear educational goals referred to as outcomes. These outcomes dictate the entire teaching and learning process, including curriculum design, instructional strategy, and assessment methods. So, when we are setting up a curriculum for any program, irrespective of whether it is a science, management, engineering, or languages, we have to have the guidelines of UGC where they have given a program outcome, and we have to map that program outcome to the course that we are developing. The syllabus that we propose should have a clear cut descriptions on what is going to be the course overview and what is the course objective and what are the course outcome. So there should be a clear mapping on how the course objective is mapped to the course outcome, and then how the course objective is marked to the assessments that we are keeping in the class. In that context, assessment in outcome-based educations are tools to measure how well students have achieved the specific learning outcomes. These can include traditional test, portfolios, performance tasks, and reflective activity. Outcome-based education necessitates robust support system that can include academic support, counseling, extracurricular activities, and mentoring programs. These systems provide additional help where necessary to ensure that students achieve the required outcome. So you might be aware of creating portfolio. Nowadays, we have digitized most of the education processes, that we start creating e-portfolio for every students who join under a particular course, whether it is a management course or a language course of an MA English that we have here in RGNYD, or it can be an engineering program of 4 years with 8 semester. Semester-wise performance of the students will be portfolioed, so that digitally also we can compare and see the progress of the student. So in what angle are we going to judge the students' progress? It definitely in relation to the course objective and the program objective. So when we are designing a program in an MBA or an MA in English, definitely a program will have an objective, and based on that we will be segregating the papers or subjects that we are going to teach under a program. And this performance of the students in terms of assessments, evaluation, end semester marks, all that will be taken into a consideration for understanding the outcome-based education for a program. So keeping that in view, the outcome-based education can be defined with certain metrics. Like first is clear learning goals. Like educators begin